Oh yeah, Hart Sawyer. Hart Sawyer is a good friend, songwriter, singer, musician, and she's very talented. And that song, Set Me Free, is actually duly licensed from her for my use. And so, anyway, welcome to a new episode of Next Level Seekers. Not quite sure of the finality of the format we're going to use here, but wanted to introduce something that we're going to be introducing and bringing to you a lot more, and that is audio, video, and something other than just memes. We're going to have a lot of interaction. We're going to have guest speakers. Next Level Seekers is just really starting to implement some of the plans I've been working on for the last year, even though the name and the group came out a little early. Nonetheless, I hope you stay plugged in to Next Level Seekers. So today I want to talk about something that's very important, and Next Level Seekers is all about not just putting out more empowerment stuff for the empowerment junkies, not just putting out more hype and more rah-rah and more motivation and more knowledge, because quite frankly, there's an overwhelming amount of self-help knowledge today thanks to the internet and social media, audible versions of books, audio books, YouTube videos. They're just, there's not enough time in the day. Pick any subject we want, and there's just an enormous amount of information. What's really lacking, I think, is practical strategies and techniques on how to implement a lot of that stuff. It's one thing to know that it's out there, but a lot of the production work today is not about implementation strategies, execution steps. It's just about that core knowledge. So we know that our personal growth is imperative for our success journey, regardless of our dreams. In terms of Next Level Seekers, we never want to say, here's how to be successful, because many of you are already successful in your own right. But we're always about getting to the next level, no matter where we are. There's no finite end. We know that. And so there's always a next level we could climb to, regardless of where we are on that success journey. So we learn, because personal growth is mandatory, we learn to evolve, our self-development work. And that includes meditation and mantras and those Zen moments of silent, reflective thinking. And we also know that everybody tells us repetition is a key element in that effort, because after all, practice makes perfect, right? Well, the problem is practice makes perfect unless what we are practicing is ineffective. So let's start out at the beginning. We know we have to fight off negativity. We know we have to plant seeds for empowerment. And so way back when, carved in stone tablets were power statements, and they were originally done in future tense, the kind of fake it till you make it opportunity, I will be wealthy. And then, of course, more technology in terms of understanding the human mind came along, and the whole affirmation thing came on the scene. And now, instead of stating it in a future sense, essentially, we bring it to the current time. We bring it to present tense. Essentially, this is the I'll fake it till I make it. And that is, I am wealthy. I'm making a decree. I'm making a pronouncement. The challenge with this is very often, like that viral video that went around for several years now about the supposed girl who was stating her affirmations, and she would say things like, I am wealthy, and her subconscious in a little cloud would come along and say, no, you're not. You're broke as a joke. And so she was trying to overpower that subconscious mind. In the late 90s, early 2000s, Noah St. John comes along, and instead of an affirmation stating it in the present tense, he says, look, ask your mind a question. Your mind likes to solve questions. And so we take that affirmation and turn it into an afformation. That's kind of his trademark name for it. And it's, why am I wealthy? And let your brain and your subconscious go to work on solving the question, and therefore take you closer to your stated goal. But in this effort, what is the real battle in achieving success? Now think about it. It's overcoming our fears, our doubts, and our limiting beliefs, right? That's all it is overcoming fears, doubts, and limiting beliefs, and having a sense of deservedness. In the end, that's the booby trap for a lot of people, because our subconscious programming is so strong, it's removed our sense of deservedness. This isn't a conscious feeling. We're going to sit there and say, oh, hell yeah, I deserve it. But subconsciously, we were programmed not to think so. Now, most of us, not all of us, most of us. But where did those fears, doubts, and limiting beliefs and lack of deservedness come from? How did they originate, right? Well, they were programmed into us. Parents, other relatives, teachers, society. And now the leaders in the empowerment field, and we can cite many: Bruce Lipton, Joe Dispenza, Maston Kipp, Dr. Julia Shaw, Gemma Stone, our favorite psychologist, Henning Beck, and there's tons of empowerment folks who have delved into or originated out of the neuroscience movement. And they've taken that deep dive the last 10 years, telling us that the programming we experienced, or better yet, had performed on us between birth and 7 years of age, when we were in our most hypnotic, vulnerable stage of development. And that's the key point. It's where our brain was at that time, and as it was being molded and growing into what it should be as an adult brain, we were being programmed. And we also know that that subconscious brain today, from the programming we received from 0 to 7, actually controls about 98% of our daily lives. It's automatic. And yet, in the self-help space, a multiple billion-dollar a year niche, we see countless techniques to battle the subconscious programming that rules our lives. There's books, courses, programs, seminars, which all talk of the dominance of this programming of our subconscious minds during our formative years, but almost all the billions of dollars of worth of techniques and strategies designed to combat this reality do nothing more than create a David and Goliath matchup. And you wonder why we struggle to find success. So the real answer has been sitting in front of us all along. And, you know, this is kind of funny because sometimes we overthink things. Sometimes we're so set on evolving something new and mysterious and, you know, getting a patent on it and selling billions of dollars of books when sometimes it's staring right in front of us. I remember in the fall when Noah St. John had his lifestyle experience, Freedom Lifestyle Experience conference, and a bunch of us went to that. And, you know, the night before it, actually, actually, it was the night of the first night. It was after the first night. I had prearranged to take Noah and his wife out to dinner, and we took a few guests with us. And Noah was sitting there at the table with us, Dallas sitting on one side, Noah and his wife on the other side of the table. And he told us the story of, and some of you have heard this in his webinars and seminars and books and audios and whatnot, but he told us a story of, late 90s in the shower one day, and this whole concept of affirmations, and it wasn't working as well as maybe we think it could. And he realized that, you know, in life and in what he had read so far, that the brain is much better at answering questions than it is listening to statements. And so he said, hey, why doesn't this work? Why is everybody saying, the positive statement in present tense, when if we ask that statement if we asked it as a question, the brain would then go to work to solve it, right? So instead of fighting the reality of our subconscious strength and trying to best it, why not use it to our advantage? So I'm talking about a concept here. I've played with this for years. I think I first saw this in an article, it might have been a blog, back around 2010, 2011. So it's been floating with me for years, and I've had a lot of talk with people. I won't formalize it by saying interview, but anecdotal talk and conversation, casual conversation. And I find that a lot of people who have achieved success, and a lot of it stemmed from the sports world, and there's reasons for that, but it's applicable everywhere. And it's a little bit different. It takes into understanding this reality. And so we know how we were programmed, and we know exactly how dominating that programming is. So why not use this subconscious strength to work for us instead of trying to fight its inevitable power and dominance? You know, as the saying goes, if you can't beat them, join them. But that's not what the self-help industry has done. That's not what billions of dollars of this industry per year is based upon. It's always trying to overcome the programming you were given, because it controls 98% of your adult life, and most of that programming results in fears, doubts, and limiting beliefs. So the real answer has been sitting in front of us all along. There's no debate at this time. And that answer is We know how we were programmed, but we aren't using that understanding to change things. In other words, we were programmed with one kind of language, and now we're trying to change that program with another language. Think about that for a minute. Why not just reprogram our subconscious the same way we were originally programmed? Right? See, right now, I saw a Bruce Lipton video a week or two ago, and he was talking about this reality of the dominance of the subconscious programming we receive from 0 to 7. Goes back to talk about, civilizations that knew this thousands of years ago. And there's only 3 ways to overcome it, according to Lipton. One is to go to a psychologist, psychiatrist, and be hypnotized and get into regressive analysis, going back and in time and seeing where you were programmed with negative programming or a specific line of belief sets or thinking, right? And another way is through volume of repetition. And this is where a lot of us feel more comfortable. Affirmations, and repetition, meditating on it and stating these and writing them. We know writing it's more powerful than just hearing it. And so we spend all this time doing things, trying to reprogram, but we're reprogramming in a different language. See, when we were little, in that vulnerable and susceptible age, we had one authority. Our parents and guardian. We didn't know any other authorities. Yeah, we slowly learned that policemen and teachers and, elders in general were authorities. But we had one authority, essentially, from the very early days, and that was our parents or our guardians, right? It essentially was our source. And I did put an uppercase there, uppercase S for emphasis. It was our universe. It was our God, really. When we heard that voice, it told us in absolutes, whether that was good for us or not, right? And we saw it as the instruction book for life. And we accepted it. And it was filed away in our subconscious data banks. And then we routinely reinforced that knowledge and belief set with our own anatomy, with our own physiology, in that our RIS, our sensory information gateways, did nothing more than add to those beliefs we were programmed with in those early days. So we were told things, we believed them as credible because it was our source of authority, and this is the life instruction manual. It's coming from the only source we knew at that time. It must be the way it is. And so our subconscious mind, through lots of repetition of that programming, accepted it as real. That is just the way things are. If we stop and think about it, though, the answer is quite simple. See, we were not programmed with I. We were programmed with you. You cannot be a millionaire. You aren't smart enough to be an astronaut. You are too slow to play competitive sports. You don't have the genes to be an A student. Now think about this. Even when you were little, they say two's the terrible twos. I think 4 is even worse because it's like the terrible twos on steroids, because not only are they, independent, they're obnoxiously independent, and they're striving for independence. 2-year-olds are just terrible twos because they're learning and they don't know right from wrong. 4-year-olds, they start to know right from wrong and they're doing it deliberately, right? So I think 4s are worse than 2s. I have 4 kids. I don't know. A lot of people have agreed with me on that. But think about this. When you're young, in that 0 to 7 age, and you're sitting there thinking, grandma, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? And, I'd want to be an astronaut. And grandpa looks at him, no, you're not smart enough to be an astronaut. See, there were 2 conflicts there. Which one was more powerful? The first conflict was this kid saying, I'm going to be an astronaut. And now the authority, the source figures come in and say, you will not be an astronaut. What did your brain hear? You. Which was more dominant? You. The I was submissive. The I was subverted, right? It wasn't as powerful. The you is in control. And yet, what do we do in today's affirmations? I am wealthy. I am abundant. I am enough. And you're fighting your subconscious where it was told, You are not abundant. You are not enough. You aren't smart enough. You aren't fast enough. So we weren't programmed with the I, we were programmed with you. So reintroduce you to your self-talk. This separates you from yourself. And yourself is the identity which was programmed into you. It's who you are. You might not think it's who you are, but it's who you are. That's the I. I am my subconscious programming. That's the reality of it all. So if you want to change that, you want to listen to a higher power. Now, as we get older, for many of us, that you can become a lot of things, can it? We can have a spiritual side, a religious side. You could be our God, whatever you want to call him or her, right? It could be our creator. It could be the universe. It could be our source. It might even harken back to memories of our parents. It has that same authority level. Now, if you think about it, in today's world of empowerment, it's all this stuff to overcome this stuff. If you watch or listen to Gary Vee enough, if you can get past his language, right? Gary Vee has nothing but attribution to his parents, to his mom, right? Why? Because the programming she gave him was, you are enough. You can do anything you want to do. See, he was one of those lucky ones that was set with good programming from the start. And therefore, as he evolved forward, what does his RAS do? His RAS complemented, augmented, supplemented, reinforced what he was already taught. It reinforced his belief sets. It shut away, it screened out, it filtered out the stuff that said anything otherwise. And he doesn't hide that one bit. He gives all credit to his mom, which I think is really kind of cool. But that's not true for most of us. Now look, our parents were not mean, malicious, intentionally limiting people. They were just being part of society. They were already worn down by the real world. And when you said you're going to be a millionaire and they're struggling on $10,000 a year, they're going to say you're not going to be a millionaire, right? Because they know how hard it was to make money. When you say you're going to be an astronaut, they remember going through school and they understand you got to go to college and then graduate work and we don't have the genes in our family. You're not going to be an astronaut, right? See, we can't win the battle of the fight of our conscious mind, what we want, versus the power of the subconscious mind, who we were programmed to be. Yet in our self-talk, as we've been mostly taught, it's I versus the authority. It's I versus the authority's programming. And it's rarely going to work, guys. So we're going to talk today about you formations. What do you know? You formations. You are wealthy. Now, I put the I back in there because I want to state this as affirmation, but just a you formation. You are wealthy. Now, we can take it one step further and bring Noah St. John's understanding. And you know what? Noah St. John had a hunch. It wasn't just out of the blue when he was taking a shower that day and he came up with this thought about taking affirmation and making it a question and then calling it affirmation. He sold lots of books and lots of audio programs and lots of courses based on that one simple shower, right? But he understood way ahead of everybody else that asking the mind questions is the best way to get it to work on your side. And in neuroscience, what do we hear? Joe Dispenza, your mind likes answering questions. Your mind likes answering questions. That's the way to negotiate and to communicate with your mind to take you in the right direction. So if we understand the I concept as a little bit of a David and Goliath fight, it's a little bit antiquated in the sense we have the information that our programming that we had from age 0 to 7 is what dominates. And yet, that programming was all done with you. It had to be because when your parents talking to you, they're going to talk in second person. They're not going to look at you and say, I can't be an astronaut, and then you repeat that. And you think about it, in your moments of hard challenges, what do you really call on? See, I find myself calling on you a lot. I look to my inner people. You've got an inner hero in you somewhere. Rachel often says, who is your inner hero? Think about it. Create an inner hero if you don't have one. And I've told many of you before, my inner hero is a combination of people. It's a little bit MacGyver. It's a little bit David Goggins. It's a little bit Rich Roll. You know? It's a little bit Tim Grover from Relentless. And I combine them all into one. And when I find I'm challenged with something, I just look to that person, have that person talk to me. And you know what they say? Hey, Steve, you can do this. Hey, Steve, this isn't a problem. You have what it takes. Hey, Steve, you're enough. And having that, be it your self-created inner hero, just hearing that person, you know. How many times have you seen little kids fearful of trying something, and a parent or a relative or family member, sometimes a teacher, comes up to him and says, you can do this. I know you. You have the ability to do this. And then a kid pops a big smile on their face and go on stage and does the piano recital, right? Or the tap dance or whatever it is. It's listening to that other party tell you that you have these abilities. See, that's how we were programmed. We believe their negative statements. We're going to believe their positive statements too. So we can take the you formation, you are wealthy, and now turn it into a you formation. Why are you wealthy? So in my self-talk, it's, why are you wealthy, Steve? And let that be me hearing the higher power, whether it's a revisit to the past where my subconscious, youthful, vulnerable self accepted my parents talking to me, whether I want to align that with my spiritual or religious beliefs, it doesn't matter. There's a bigger source than you, and your subconscious mind will listen to it. It believes that there's another power out there because that's how it was originally programmed. So why are you wealthy? And that's what you say to yourself. I'm not asking you that, so you turn around and say, why am I wealthy? I'm saying put the you in it. Why are you wealthy? Okay. Now, we take this one step further, and this is the ultimate, and this is kind of where we've been heading the last 6 to 9 months in general in this whole concept. And that is, now I'm going to say a groove formation. Okay, a groove formation. So a groove formation is a little bit of gratitude for a future memory. It puts feeling into it, and it creates the question, right? Because we know that a memory shaped with emotion is the strongest memory we can have. A thought with emotion creates passion, which creates our drive. So if we take a U formation and put the GRU in front of it, so I'm talking to myself, looking in the mirror, listening to make my own GRU formations with my own binary beats. You know, why are you so happy and grateful for the feeling of standing on the podium at the Olympics? So I'm having gratitude for the feeling I get for having achieved my goal into the future. Why are you so happy and grateful for the feeling of standing on the podium at the Olympics? I know this is simple, guys, but I think it's a breakthrough. And like I said, in some ways it's not anything new because some people have operated with this just because it felt more comfortable to them. But understand why it felt more comfortable to them. It felt comfortable to them because that's how they were originally programmed. It was their parents and their teachers and their coaches and their grandparents and aunts and uncles and society in general putting those doubts, fears, and limiting beliefs in them, talking to them as you in the second person. You aren't good enough. You aren't smart enough. You aren't fast enough. You don't have it in the family genes. And we absorbed it as if it was absolute truth. And the proof is in the pudding, guys. If neuroscientists today say that 98% of your adult life is directed and dominated by your subconscious thoughts, which were programmed to you in 0 to 7, and we know that 0 to 7 programming involves second person. It was always you. And we're trying to now combat that with I. It makes no sense. Instead of combating it, let's join it. Let's take the mind at its strength. Let's take the fuel that it enjoys, and that's being told you. As if, gee, there's something more powerful than me, and I better listen to it. So if you do graph formations, groove formations, with repetitiveness, do them frequently, do them consistently, you are now programming your mind in the same way You were told no 77,000 times by the time you were age 2, right? You are now programming it with that same thing that it understands. It's like a translated, oh, he's talking to me in use. I know this. I'm going to record this. And this is the absolute. So turn it around, guys. Simple technique, but extremely powerful. So if you're not already, those of you listening to this at the Next Level Seekers Facebook group, you know where you are. If you were listening to this elsewhere, then plug on over. Join us at Next Level Seekers. It's a Facebook group, Next Level Seekers. Just request to join and get a little bit of empowerment thrown your way during the week. And we're going to continue to do impressive stuff in here. We've got a Telegram channel coming out, so you won't miss anything that gets posted. We're going to do, like I said, we've got interviews we're lining up. It's going to be a pretty powerful experience. So I encourage you to join us. Hopefully you got something of value out of this today and you can put it to practical use. You know, Next Level Seekers, as you can see on the screen, our real thought concept, our objective is to be engineering optimal empowerment, understanding, performance, and mastery. That's what's going to take you to the next level in whatever your endeavor is. Thank you. Have a great day. This is Steve Greger saying, I'll see you soon.